What's up guys, this is Coach Aleyzr here, and today we're going to talk about how to play B apps on Mirage. So, as we did in the last video guys on Mirage for the short player, today we are going to dive deep into another position, and we're going to start off with the options that you have in the early round, go over some stuff that you can do, then move into some mid-round positions, how to exactly play against B pops or B executes. I will show you some late round positions as well, some aggressive moves that you can do with your teammates, and how you should rotate and support your teammates on A, and then we're going to finish off the video with some advanced util. So let's hop into your early options that you have on B. In general, on early round, your main job as a B player is to block the T's from coming B early or get information. So your short player has a little bit of time to help his teammates on mid, like corner and window, to fight mid if they want to. Or he gets like early information, so he has time to come back towards the B side in case the T's come B very fast. Most of the rounds, what you will probably do is do some kind of molly. There are some different variations of it. For the deep molly, you just come against the left side box here, and the way how I do it is I try to keep my crosshair above this line here while running forward. So something like this. Yeah, and then you can see it lands pretty deep here. If you want to do the one that lands like kind of here, just throw it to the left side, and then it burns here this entire area and nobody can peek you. This one is pretty good if you plan on going up truck, and then if the molly is still burning, yeah, you go for like jump spot, nobody's there, and then you're free to move up into aggressive position here if you want to. And if you have a pretty bad spawn, you can do a molly like this. Yeah, that lands in front of here if you're afraid of somebody getting close to you. For this one, you just kind of run here and try to keep the gap a little bit smaller and just aim towards the left side of this window a little bit higher, so it bounces here one more time again, and then it just perfectly covers this whole front area here. After the molly, what is like pretty common to do is like do a deep HE in case anyone is like waiting here behind the molly and now wants to progress further. Yeah, you just fully nade him. And then the default thing you transition to is jump spotting. But a lot of people actually do this wrong. Obviously, we never want to jump spot like this. Yeah, it should be very obvious why this is bad. Once you want to do it like a little bit better, you can do it like this, where you jump on your way out, or you jump here early that you're already on your way kind of down when you come to the left side. This will be okay for like lower levels where T's are not going to be able to punish you, but once you reach higher level, people will be able to punish you here even with an AK, and especially if they have an orb. Yeah, it's a pretty easy kill to get. So what a lot of pros do then is they come into the corner here and they kind of jump very late here, yeah, because then it's like you only spot them for a very short amount of time and then you're immediately hidden again. Yeah, so you kind of jump spot like this. Make sure to practice this a little bit. Yeah, and then obviously you can sometimes switch it up so you're not like always doing the same one and get predictable, and then people are just holding for the exact jump spot and try to kill you there. Another really powerful peek that you can do is this one here on the truck, and you can like peek immediately or just peek on timing here, however you want to do it. And if you didn't have a good spawn, yeah, you can still just do your molly, yeah, jump spot, see if somebody's aggressive, and then you can just move into your position and then just decide if you want to hold it or just peek on timing. Another cheeky opening that you can do is something like this, yeah, where you just molly kind of deep and then you move into the window frame, and then you're just waiting here and play this off angle. This is obviously not a guaranteed kill, but it can be a good position to catch your enemy off guard if you have been playing like fairly passive previously. The last common option that you have is like boosting or getting boosted, and for this it's just important that people know where to stand. You have to stand behind this line here, because as you can see, I'm moving a little bit up when I'm on this line, so the person that is boosting the other person has to stand behind this line, yeah, because the ground goes a little bit down here. So you just have to stand here And then the other guy can just jump on top of him and go for an aggressive peek here. And this is especially powerful if you have an AWPer here that can just immediately search for info and be like very aggressive in B-apps early on. One more very situational option is that you can molly deep, yeah, and then you immediately move towards short. For example, to boost your teammate on those bricks here. And then you can either stay and fight mid with him. This is especially good if you know that like the B player doesn't really like to play aggressive here early on. And then you just help your mid guy to fight. Or you just move back towards the B side. But there will be rounds where you're like actually free early on to help your short player. And you don't always have to sit here and be AFK for like the first 30 seconds. While jump spotting. Now let's talk about how to behave if the T's come towards you. In general, if there's just one T lurking, you should be able to handle this yourself. So options that you have then is like if he pushed you off from truck, for example, if he mollied you, so like play under window and just choose your angles. Yeah, what's like pretty strong. It's like this fight here, for example. Obviously, you need to be like very careful with your movement because this is like a pretty common angle for T's to hold afterwards. Yeah, so what you can do, you just move here, you wait a little bit, and then you have like really good pre-aim and like directly peek into him, not just walking into him. Yeah, you're like prepared and peek into him. Obviously, you can also just move under window in the beginning. Just make it hard for him to figure out where you are, because if he's all by himself, he should not be able to like put you in a very defensive spot where you smoke, for example, here and play backside, because then your short player has to be worried about this player and he can't help mid anymore. So the general rule for you is if there's just one guy lurking, either you kill him like pretty quickly with your short player together with maybe like a flash play, something like this, yeah, and then you just move up here, for example, on truck, something like this, or you handle this situation yourself so your short player is still free to help the guys on mid. Now let's say the T's are coming, like you spot multiple people and you're expecting an execute or some kind of B pop. The most common reaction is this smoke here and a flash like this. A lot of people just aim high and flash like so, which is fine, but then this flash is pretty high. I personally think it's better if you do it like with a right click and jump throw, because then the flash is not as high. And then if T's are like coming out here, they're getting fully blinded. And obviously as well if they're coming out balcony. So our combo should look something like this. And then usually where we want to stand is here. Because what's good about this position here is that most of the flashes are not going to blind us. Yeah, these default flashes above the roof here, the short ones, like the close one that land here, or the deep ones that land here, both of them are not going to like flash us. The only flash that is like really catching us is this flash here on the bomb side, and you kind of have to figure out if the T's like to do this, because then sometimes you have to just kind of wait for it and then peek afterwards. And the reason why this position is pretty good is that on B hits, most of the teams like to send out one guy early in window that is trying to create space here, trying to find the short guy. And then you're like in a prime position to get this early free kill. And then you can just make it awkward by like playing around this smoke here. In general, with this smoke, your entire goal is to catch the first guy and then make it really uncomfortable for the T's to trade you. Yeah, you want to buy time or make them commit into fights that are like really shit for them, so you have the option to get a second kill. Sometimes if you're all by yourself and nobody can quickly like rotate to you, you can play even more defensive, something like this with a smoke here. And then you can play on top of the trash can here, or you just try to find the first guy. Yeah, have a little bit of room for the smoke. Yeah, and then you just try to hold on to the backside space here. Yeah, and this is probably something that you want to be do if you have like high numbers advantage and you just want to play for the retake. Maybe even against like shit buys, and then you just try to get the first kill and play for the full retake with your team. If for some reason you have a molly left, maybe your short player dropped a second one for you and you already did use your smoke like in the beginning, smoking like so, for example, then what you can do is if you're jump spotting here, yeah, and you spot them and they're coming, you can just do a molly like this. It like basically burns the balcony, because this means that the T's are now forced to move out of the window, and this will allow you like after the molly to just stand here. You can play this position again, wait for the guy who's jumping out, take timing peeks against window, or just come around here again later on when the molly is down. With this molly, you're just trying to buy a little bit of time for you so you can fight the first guy again that's coming out, and then you don't have to worry about balcony in the meantime. Yeah. Now, as we said earlier, sometimes you just have to fight this one lurk on the B side, and what's pretty good against that is to choose any kind of off angles. And on the B side, there are a lot of positions that you can choose from. So now let's go over the best ones. So the first angle that you can always choose is something like this here on truck. Yeah, it's a pretty strong off angle that you can take. You can also play behind the bench here. There are some people that like to move up here, but I think with an M4 it's not that strong. It can be pretty strong with an ARP though. Yeah, something like this. But with an M4 I think it's not that strong of an angle. Another pretty common position is this here. And for all of these positions on B, you have always the option to actively hold the entire time, or you just kind of hide and jump up afterwards. This is pretty powerful if there's just one guy lurking, because if he's coming out, he's clearing spots and he doesn't see you. Yeah, he's coming, he doesn't see you, and then he's trying to clear like the next angle, and then all of the sudden you're just basically there and can immediately kill him. If you have an MP9 or a pistol, playing behind this box here is pretty strong as well. And for this box again, we have the same concept. Yeah, you can play it immediately like holding, or you can just hide and then just pop on like a timing. And if anyone is like jumping out of the window, we will obviously be able to hear it and immediately react. One thing to know about this position is, since there are these metal things here on the roof, most of the default deep flashes are not going to blind you, even if you're looking up here, because they're getting blocked from this metal part here. So that's why this position sometimes can be really good. Obviously, like it's pretty random how people throw these, but for most of them, if they just get thrown like this, which is how most people do it, you're not getting blinded by them. Now, what's super important for you to understand as a B player is that the B side is the bomb side that in a lot of games will not be attacked very often. Yeah, and you have to develop a feeling of when you can leave the B side to help your teammates on mid. So if you're like stronger defense on short, maybe your short player can move into ladder and you kind of leave B open a little bit and then come back later. Or you want to also learn to understand with experience when there are like windows to be aggressive on B apps, because let's say they have maybe a lurker that is like active towards the beginning of the round, but then once they're like taking mid control, he's always going underground and then moving towards mid. And if this is like a pattern that you recognize, you want to be able to understand this and take this space in the mid round, yeah, and get a lot of information for your teammates. One thing to consider is that sometimes during the mid round, when a lot of stuff is happening in mid, you sometimes want to use your smoke in like a little bit of an aggressive way, yeah, something like this here. And the reason for that is that we basically want to buy time for our teammates to figure out what the hell is going on in mid, while reducing the risk of getting popped on the B side. Yeah, so we're basically making sure that they're not trying to gain attention towards mid and all of our teammates are fighting them in mid and then they pop B. Yeah, we like preemptively smoking B on this timing to make it a little bit easier for us. And with this, we usually have two options. We can fall a little bit more back, yeah, and play a little bit more into a position where we have faster rotates. Or what we can also do, we can go a little bit more aggressive. And this can be especially strong in mid rounds where they're like fighting mid and then they like usually like to end A. And then you're already in like a very forward position and you can very quickly call that is probably an A play. Yeah, so in mid round you can do the smoke as a preemptive choice to avoid any B pops on like the obvious timing, or you can use it to get aggressive. And then obviously we don't always have to use this one. We can also use like deeper ones to get even more aggressive. And then you just have to get a little bit of a feeling and try to mind game the enemy here a little bit. Now, next up, let's go over some very aggressive plays that you can do. As we said earlier, we have this option to do the deep molly. But if you ever picked up a T-Molotov, yeah, what you can do then is do like a little bit more advanced version of this. And you just want to aim a little bit under this line here and just make the gap between the wall and the window kind of small. And then you just run forward and do the molly like this. And this molly will spread, as you can see, the whole room here. So just this corner here is left. So you can probably predict what we're trying to do. We are going to do the molly. And then we just slowly wait here. And then we just spam the right side here of this one thing. And then anyone that's like standing inside of this corner will get wallbanged by you. Another cool move that you can do, which I showed in my short video as well, is you can start off with like mollying if you want to, or you just do the jump spot and you do a very deep smoke like this. And then you let your short player move up into this corner here on the left side on top of this bench. Something like this. And then you just come underneath this barrel, aim at these dots, walk forward and do a simple HE. And this HE is going to land in front of the sofa like this. So your teammate on top is not going to take damage. Yeah. But it will obviously break this smoke. And then your teammate is going to be able to surprise anyone that's like behind the smoke. Obviously, we can always do this with a molly. Yeah, we molly, we maybe boost even someone up here. And then our teammate can get aggressive here. And then we just do a simple flash like this. And then anyone that's like playing close here will get totally blinded. And then we can just send our teammate inside of this area and allow him to try to find a kill here. If you want to, you can support this simple move with a smoke like this. Yeah, so they're not going to be able to hold this from like back of the stairs. But I think this smoke makes it very obvious. So I would say just use it in very rare occasions. It's probably best in like very low buys where you want to make them scared of being aggressive. You take this information away and then you leave kind of, and you make them like really scared and just buy a lot of time with it. So now let's go over some important util and how to help your teammates on A if you're rotating. The first smoke is very situational, but in rare occasions where you feel like you don't need it on B, but your teammates on mid need a re-smoke for a connector, you can just come here and aim between those dots and do a simple jump throw. And this is going to be a bottom connector smoke that is going to help your teammates hold on to this control for a little bit longer. If your teammates are fighting for mid and you want to support them with flashes, you can just aim kind of in this area here. And these flashes will land above the window, as you can see. So anyone that's like getting close to the window is going to get full blinded by them. And now if you're rotating towards the A side, a really good flash that you can always do is something like this. Basically just a bench flash. Yeah, so if T's are coming out here, they're getting blinded by this flash. Please don't throw flashes like this. Yeah, most of the time they're not going to be super useful. Yeah, sometimes like if T's are already out, you can see then this flash is not really helping at all. Yeah, so if you want to do bench flash, just do it like this. And if your teammates are telling you that they're already like pushing towards CT, then obviously you can do something like this. Yeah, which is like a little bit more aggressive, something like this. Or if we pretty late and we still have a teammate that is alive on CT, we want to flash like this. So if they're like pushing him and he's playing on the right side here, for example, they get fully blinded and he can just defend himself here and get a little bit support from your flash behind him. In general, we want to be rotating towards kitchen, and then we want to decide if we want to go jungle or CT. If we have still somebody alive and on CT, and nobody's like in jungle alive anymore, then we can go jungle. Yeah, so we can try to keep jungle and CT control, and then we want to kind of fight for this control here with our short player together and just pray that our CT guy is able to hold on to the CT area. And if our jungle and window player are still alive, yeah, they're just holding on to the area here behind the smokes. Let's say like on an execute, they just fight, do a little bit of spam, but they still have this control here. Then if we have a CT player alive, you just want to support him, how we said earlier, and then just go towards him. So for the retake, we can basically keep CT and jungle control, because then it's pretty hard for the T's to play the after plant. One more thing you should know is how to re-smoke this from multiple positions, because there's nothing worse than a bad re-smoke like this. So from back here, you just come against the trash bin, and then just off the bottom part of this lighter part that's illuminated by the sun, just like so. And from backside is always just against this door here, pretty simple. And then from back here, you can also use a flash like this. Yeah, if you're already backside, it's like very situational, but sometimes can be useful. And if you're up the balcony, don't use the old lineup like so. Use the new one where you just aim in the middle between here and here. So kind of like this. And then just do a simple right click. And then it's not visible as long, and then it's a good flash. And coming back to the executes where we smoked here, you have also sometimes the option to just use a smoke like this, which makes it like super awkward for the T's, because now they can't see shit, yeah, and they basically have to jump through the smoke. So this can be also a very viable smoke. Lastly, if you ever have a teammate pushing underground, you can jump out of the kitchen and then just create a gap between here and here. And then just kind of aim in the middle here and move your crosshair up while you're running forward. So something like this. And this flash is going to totally blind anyone that's like holding underground from here. So yeah, guys, I think that's pretty much it. This position is not as complex as the other ones like short or cave on ancient. But as you could see, there's still some stuff to know. And I hope you learned something new. If you have any positions you want me to cover next, just write them down in the comment section below. And if you're interested in coaching or just want to be part of this growing community, feel free to join my Discord and I'll talk to you there. I hope every one of you is having a nice day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye.